What's good, Josh Clyde, aka Archangels out there, and right now I'm gonna be going over uh, examples of uh, supernatural events that have taken place in my life, uh, in this personal lifetime here, that have affected me personally, and I went through them majority of the time with people that I knew pretty well, and we equally had to work with our alignment of aligning with this supernatural event that we came across in the revolution of going around this earth to essentially save our own lives, because our lives were in danger every time. So first I want to break down why this happens, and then why it's just like anything else. It's the same thing as taking a shit, or eating your favorite meal, or getting a meal you don't like. It's the same thing as the regular shit. Honestly, it's just, it looks way cooler. It's called surreal or whatever, but like, it looks way different. It looks way different than just me talking into a phone smoking weed. So that is to say, to solve a supernatural problem, it always feels like you do a natural thing to a very high intensity. So it'd be an example of like a catching hypothermia. People get the chills. People get cold naturally as the weather changes. But everybody has always experienced a near-death experience from being cold. Literally being so cold that their body can't function. But the thing is, if you would talk to somebody who really experienced hypothermia and isn't lost in the trauma aspect of it still, they'll say, it's really just you were really cold, and that's all is you're cold. So once you get to the point of accepting that this is what it's like the first time you come to Earth. When you first experience that first real pain of living for the first time. Because the only way to be alive is to be in pain. If you can remember, the first time we were alive, we experienced the worst pain we have ever experienced. And every time after that, when we have acted in the same moment, we have always experienced less pain, but more experience. And that's the key. If you want the reality of the subject, our life force is pain. Think about that. We're just so good that we can take something that is literally the most uncomfortable thing in existence and like it, love it, make it a whole existence and motivation to keep breathing and eating and drinking and living. So that's where the ego can help you. You have to realize that just because you're here and living doesn't mean something doesn't think that they have the right to take that shit away from you. Because most people know it's humans out here with the right mind and the right power to blow somebody's head off in broad daylight or for no reason. So what's to say that something bigger isn't influencing the action of many people to act in a certain way, because we all experience the same problems, which is why they make certain laws. We can't do certain things specifically, like, carry guns for certain reasons, or do things for certain reasons, use certain substances for certain reasons, or go certain places for certain reasons. So all that compiled together in the thought waves of the world eventually creates a feeling. And thoughts create feelings, and they create bodies because they create actions. Because a feeling is just a thought, which is slow movement, and then it expands and condenses and becomes more movement and gets bigger and bigger and bigger and expands infinitely until it becomes a feeling. And then once it keeps expanding, it eventually becomes an action, and that action is something like wind, or something like hold on, yeah. Quick roll. So then that action would be something like a lightning strike, or a thunder strike, or like a seed sprouting, or like an embryo forming, or like a sperm uniting with an egg. So when that happens, remember, it's all possibilities in life. Living is all possibilities, and living is evil. And that's actually a good thing, because to live is to be good, and the only way to live is to be evil. And evil is not a bad thing. Harm is a bad thing. And the only way to be in harm is to be in a perspective that living in pain, which is the only way to live, is something that we don't have to do, when that's law. That's the only law of life, is that life is pain. So when the perspective of this harm came into the world, it took many forms, and then it was amplified through media. And then when it was amplified through media, it was amplified through the negative emotions that people were residing with and resonating with, and then they were feeding these negative emotions through commercials, through their minds, through dreams. We got lost in this idea of the horror of the world, honestly. Because honestly, all horror is based off of a true story or a true idea. Many people don't know Willy Wonka was he was a child murderer, and he used to kidnap kids and tell them, I have chocolate. He's literally the story of the ice cream man that comes with candy and says, "Come with me, I'll give you more candy at my crib." So he would literally give people candy, and usually it was some type of chocolate. He would have all kinds of different recipes of chocolate. He would make extravagant names that kids would fall for. He knew how to work a kid's mind. That was the evil part of his knowledge. That was actually smart. It was smart, but it was used to harm. So that's where he fell and lost his purpose, because he used his evil to harm, or his life to harm. So when he was doing that, he used to like get the kids high on the chocolate and shit, put different shit in the chocolate you couldn't taste. Sometimes he would put he would mix because pills are bitter, so he would mix it with dark chocolate and then sweeten the heck out of it so you couldn't tell, and it would still taste like dark chocolate. And then he would mix it with something like creamy so you wouldn't notice it's a dark chocolate as a kid, and then you would be out because he would mix them with the chocolate that would make you pass out, because he was also an anesthesiologist in college and he knew how to GMO medicines and basically manipulate people through medicating them. So then when he accumulated so many kids, they started decaying because he would only feed them chocolate and candy and sugar and stuff because sugar was so abundant at the time. It was like the new thing and people were going crazy for it. It's like cocaine. So he literally used to hype them up on sugar until they fell asleep, rape them, and then he would basically, until when they would get super fat, he felt like they were ripe or whatever, and he would literally eat them. He was a cannibal. He would eat them, and then people would say his house smelled so bad from blocks away. It literally smelled like if the earth took a shit somewhere, like if the earth took a shit in the middle of a big city, and then it was 100 degrees for a whole month. Like that's how pungent this death of this smell of death and decay coming from his house eventually was. But the thing is, he literally would be disposing of the kids almost way before they would actually end up decaying. And it was his piping and his sewage drain that was smelling, because the police were searching his house over and over and searching that block, house and house, for where the smell was coming from, and they were using police dogs and stuff like that. And the thing is that the sewage, what's it called? The septic tank was deep down. I think the septic tank was like 15 to 20 feet down, and it was literally around the corner. So even though the smell seeped up through the drains, they didn't know it was coming from the septic tank, because they didn't think that anybody would be this devious to really do all this. So this is where literally the idea of Willy Wonka and a chocolate factory comes from. This is what the chocolate is. It's literally him pooping kids out that he's eaten and tortured and only fed chocolate and wouldn't let talk to their parents. You know, he didn't know where the kids were. He was just working in his factory on selling his candy that was in the stores in his freaking big ass mansion. With kids tied up in every room. Here, you can have a friend. Here, you have to leave him. He's not your friend today. He's my friend. Oh, he was a good one. He gets extra candy today. He gets whatever flavor he wants. So he would eventually get to the point where the police were bothering him so much and he had nowhere to go, because they literally had that whole block under lockdown, because they were like, we got to figure out where this is coming from, because everybody in this city is saying they smell like they're somebody hunted an animal and they can't find it, so we need to find out where the smell's coming from, because something's going on. So he started crawling down into the drain pipes and trying to pour bleach into the septic tank from the bottom of the drain pipe, and crawling through and getting in through the pipes into the septic tank. When he did that, it didn't do anything. He was like putting the gallons of bleach down there and was leaving them down there, like, you know, moving them, like dropping them down, like, you know, like a train, like by himself and shit like that. And then he was pouring the bleach down there, hoping it would neutralize because bleach was way stronger back then. It was way stronger. It used to literally be like almost acid back then. So he was pouring that, like, basically like diluted hydrochloric acid, maybe like half diluted hydrochloric acid, what it would probably be equivalent to, is pouring down into the septic tank, and it's like fizzing up. And when it fizzes up, you know, it causes a chemical reaction that's like Mentos and pop. So it literally shoots up through the sewer tank with the nigga Willy Wonka into the air. This brown, imagine this shit, tan, brown, green, gray, smelling like dead. Like a fountain in the air. Literally over the whole neighborhood. Everywhere. Smacking everything like it's raining. They chalked it up as a broken pipe. And he said he was on a walk and got tired and sat on the drain, and it just bust and shot him in the air, and that's how he got covered in it, and then that's how he got at the crime scene and stuff like that. And so the thing is, he never got caught. He never got caught. He killed himself before he got caught because he knew he was about to get caught. He felt himself slipping. And why did he feel himself slipping? Because he was acting outside of karma for so long. Because life is forgiving. Because evil is forgiving. Life is forgiving. And that's a good thing. Because that's the only way we can learn our lesson. That's how we learn our lesson. We have to forgive the pain that gives us life. Because that's the only way to live. And we have to know that. So that takes me into the part where the Willy Wonka spirit is still alive. And the Willy Wonka spirit is still alive as the energy of sleep paralysis. If you've ever experienced sleep paralysis and you can have a visual sense of what's actually going on without expectation, you can see a figure that looks like it has long matted hair, and it has blades for hands and feet, and it constantly stays in a crouch position, and it's very large compared to like a 6-foot human. It looks like it's almost 12 to 15 feet tall once you actually get a good look at it. And the thing is about sleep paralysis, you can sometimes not have any of your senses but your feelings, but sometimes you can have sight, too, and like hearing and smell and stuff. I've actually heard the sleep paralysis demon speak. It was like speaking in tongues that like said a demonic curse about my energy that it read from reading my energy. It's like a dark magic kind of thing. So I was getting sleep paralysis pretty consistently. Like once a month, I was getting sleep paralysis from the time I was, I think the first time I got sleep paralysis, I was in the 4th grade. Yep, I was in Miss Reddick's class, and then in the 4th grade, I fell asleep in class one day, and my friend Miguel Glino was trying to wake me up. And he was trying to tap me, and all I felt was him trying to tap me and scream my name, but it felt like I was seeing a different color light and just darkness, black. Everything was black, and it was an outline of everything, like a negative view, like a negative photo effect view, and then just like a different color light that was changing. So I was trying to wake up and get up, but I couldn't. I literally felt like I was awake, but I couldn't move. I felt like I was paralyzed and half awake. Like my mind was awake, my body was paralyzed. So eventually I like shot up and I took a big gasp, and everybody in the class was like freaking out because they like thought I had screamed Bloody Mary or some shit like that. Like, and I didn't know what happened. So eventually stuff like that kept happening where I would eventually have a fear deep in my emotion center about falling asleep on my back, because every time I fell asleep on my back, I would wake up in a nightmare in paralysis or sleep paralysis. So when I got to 7th grade, I started playing football and I hurt my finger, and I didn't want to play anymore because I just felt like football was kind of physical, and I hadn't played young enough to really develop the muscle strength in the right places to really compete with everybody in time. So I was like, I'm gonna try a different sport. It's a little less physical. And so I started having sleep paralysis every month to 2 months in between that time, between 4th grade and 7th grade. And I couldn't put why I kept having it. And it got so scary because, I'm a kid, so I was waking up crying, bawling, and I was scared to fall asleep because I was like, I don't know what's happening to me. And then doctors trying to get me don't want to prescribe me sleeping medication because I'm too young. They think I'm gonna throw my sleeping pattern off with that too early. So I just deal with it, and then eventually it gets to the point where I want to challenge it because I'm like, this thing's not better than me, you know. Like, I can't just let these nightmares I keep having that I'm stuck in my bed, is what the doctor said, and I can't let that keep controlling me. So I eventually had a sleep paralysis dream where I broke the paralysis for a split second, and the dream turned more physical than ethereal, or like, you know, what I couldn't see. And I saw a dude who literally looked like a way scarier version of Freddy Krueger, and he had like pale grayish skin like Rick, long matted gray and white, all kinds of gray and white hair, looked like 50,000 shades of gray, matted hair, almost looked like spiky dreadlocks that are blades. And he literally, instead of actual hands and like feet, he literally had just straight blades. Like, they were literal blades, and he was bleeding profusely, like dripping, pouring blood out of each of the 5 blades in each hand, and he could move them like this, and they would just dripping blood like from the blade, like literal horror shit. So in his feet, same story, except he was standing on the blades, and when he walked, it goes like sing, 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 sing. Like when he started chasing you, that shit's scary, and all you feel in your heart is zing, 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 like he's stabbing you every time he steps. It's so weird how he does that. And so as I started having the sleep paralysis dreams, I started breaking the sleep paralysis energy spell that he was putting on me, that this energy a collection was putting on me. So as I was doing that, I would be sucked into lucid nightmares, and so these are real things that you can pass away in. But the reason you can pass away in them, even though they're dreams or nightmares, whatever you want to call them, they happen while you're fully asleep. It's a connection between a being that's actually a very wise and harmful on how to be. He's very wise on how to be harmful, is what I'm trying to say. He knows how to be harmful to somebody. Just like how people can know how to heal and how to love, he knows how to mess with your mind more than anything, because he is the spirit of fear. He's the spirit of why everybody is afraid of anything. So I learned that he literally makes me more afraid, I realize, when I get afraid of him. And I realized when I wasn't afraid, I'm able to do what I want, even though it's something there that is not normally there. So as I started learning about this control of fear, and how it was his power to use fear against me, I started winning these sleep paralysis battles, if you want to call it, in the dream realm, these lucid nightmares. And the Freddy is what he sound. It sounds like when I finally got into the final time that I've had this sleep paralysis lucid nightmare that turned into a coma nightmare, which I'm getting into now. The coma was one time I fell asleep, and Freddy had accumulated enough fear from my spirit and from the world's nightmares and spirits in general to touch me physically for a while, and it stabbed me out my sleep and woke me up to my arm bleeding, and it felt like some kind of poison that would dissolve skin was on his nails, so it was like dissolving my arm, and I woke up to that little real pain of what felt like 3rd degree, 4th degree burn, melting my skin and muscle and bone. And then I knew what it wanted immediately when it touched me. It touched me to wake me up. It touched me to tell me something, and it touched me to kill me. It didn't work to kill me, so it took the two things it got, because I answered it. I said, this ends now. So we going to your mind or mine, bitch. What the fuck you want? And it jumped back, because I didn't have a drop of fear in me at that one point. I had put the fear in the fear spirit for the first time. It had always created fear because it invented being afraid. And I showed it what it's like to actually be afraid for the first time. And when it did that, it said, you dare use my own power against me, my gift from the one true master. And it broke my glass, it smacked my wall, and it sliced me down my body. And the thing is, when it did that, it didn't do that with intent to touch my physical body. It did that with intent to feel out my spirit 100%. And I allowed it to do that so I could end the sleep paralysis nightmares that I was having. So in this sleep paralysis nightmare, it took place in my own mind because it didn't have enough energy to make a physical body. So it took place in my mind. So I was in a coma for, I was literally in an unconscious coma in the hospital on life support for 25 days. And I was literally 3 hours before the doctor was going to make a decision or force my parents to make a decision on whether to pull the plug or not, because they couldn't pay for me to be on life support anymore, because it was literally costing a lot of money, because they were trying everything to figure out what happened, because they just said I didn't wake up one day, and then they were trying to wake me up for hours. I missed school and I didn't wake up for 8 hours, and my parents just said like that we wanted to kill ourselves because we didn't know what happened to you. So what actually happened to me was Freddie had manifested itself in my own mind and 100% in intercourse with me. So in that, I was fully asleep and I was physically in Freddie's mind was the key that I didn't know at the time. So I'm searching the world and it literally looks like Blood Omen 2. That vampire game I used to play. It literally looked like Blood Omen 2. That's what it reminded me of. But it looked like an entire Earth-size building of a mental hospital kitchen. Like an industrial hospital kitchen. But literally it was the size of a regular kitchen with enough rooms to be a million. But it was all white everywhere. Besides having scratched off paint in certain places, hanging lights, flickering lights. Of course, it was extremely dark, except for one flickering light that felt like it flickered every 5 minutes. And damn it, every time that light flickered, that motherfucker was 2 inches from my face. Excuse me, got like kind of loud. But then, so I'm walking. And then I'm just like touching around. And I touch the wall and it goes like, and all I hear is, where are you? And like he starts talking to me in weird voices and shit like that. So I'm like, all right, so can't touch the wall. So just keep walking. If you run into something, you run into it. We'll figure out what's going on after that. Let's get it. Whatever's here is here and we're here too. So we just gonna run with it. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm walking. And then I start walking fast. And as I start walking fast, I hear something slowly start creeping up to my pace of steps. So I start speeding up. And then it starts speeding up. And as I start speeding up, it starts speeding up faster than me. And eventually catches up to match my footsteps. So I like slow down real quick. And I'm like, it's like who's faster? And I'm just like, that's when I flipped. I was like, hold on, what is going on? What type of dream is this, bro? And I did the little like double 180, 360, like do the flip, turn, look around, flip, turn, look back, no lights. Then all of a sudden the lights flicker on after the 5 minutes and he's right in my face again. And and the lights flicker off and I'm like, whew. And then something tells me in my mind that oh damn, he keeps getting closer every time the light flickers on. It may be like micro whatever, and I don't have a real unit of measurement for how much closer he's getting, but I can see him getting bigger every time, and I feel him getting closer, and he gets louder, and I can smell him every time. And I feel like I just felt him whisk past my face that time, and he was not whispering past my face with his hand before. So I'm like, all right, it's ticking time bomb. So I'm like, shit. So we gotta say fuck it. So I'm like, all right, the next time you feel him align with your steps, just book it in the opposite direction. And then some told me, don't think about it, but he's gonna be in that direction that you go to that he's gonna be in that direction that you go to with the most rush, or the most, what's the word I'm looking for? I knew he was gonna be in the direction I go to with the most haste. If I'm rushing to get to the place, I knew he was gonna come. So I was like, all right, so keep it kind of play with him and keep going up and down till he can finally lock on. Then when you know the light's coming, turn up and just haste. That's all you want is haste. You want haste, and you wanna create the energy of fear and everything, and be fear. Take fear as his weapon and use it as your own against him in the worst way. So when I did that, I rushed full speed. Once I felt my heart drop and everything felt like it slowed down, even though I couldn't see anything, and I just kept smacking lights in the face, like don't, ow, like like literally it's that intense in this dream, and like literally, and then the lights flicker on, and for some reason he's further back, but we're heading towards each other, and something tells me like, strike him now, or you're never gonna wake up, and you know what's gonna happen if you don't wake up. You gone, boy. You're gonna be the first person to die from a coma. Lucid dream. You're gonna be the first person to die from a coma lucid nightmare, and nobody's gonna be able to tell the world but you, and they ain't gonna know for real, because they ain't gonna be aligned enough to know this. So I was like, this is it. So I was like, I'm doing it. I'm attacking this, because you know what? This is just a dream. Everything is just a dream. Whatever that means is true, and I know whatever I need is in my power. So this thing is not better than me. It is me. So I'm going to let it know, you're not better than me, so you're not controlling me in your world anymore. Even how we got here. I'll take you to my world, and I'll send you back to your world. Let's go. So I jumped up, I did a spin, and I felt like a lion spirit came out of my tattoo, pierced my heart, killed me for a second. I felt like a literal death, and then a rebirth, and then it went. I felt the spirit of everything in existence come into my left hand, and then into the tattoo, charge it into the brightest light in all existence, and then it came into my right hand. I cocked it back after the spin, and then when I did that, it literally just turned its whole face. It opened. It literally could open its nose. Its nose closed together so tight because its nose was its anus. And its anus was filled with multiple same spikes that are poisonous and shit like that. He was literally like a porcupine demon in the lucid nightmare. So he opened his face, and there was one super sharp one that came out like 1 inch before my hand. It was right here. And my hand was already cocked back. I'm in the air. And I didn't know it was going to do this until I had cocked back in the air and already spun. So I'm like, and it's, and I'm like, fuck, it's a fucking needle. So I'm like, it's the one chance I got. It was going through my whole, all I felt was like piercing through my whole arm. And I was like, I got it. It's going to feel like I dislocated my arm again. I remember I dislocated my hip on the left side. It's like an X. I just got to dislocate my shoulder. So I was like, bah! And all I heard was pop. And my shoulder was actually dislocated. And I shot up out of the coma. And they don't know how the heck my shoulder got dislocated. And all I did was wake up out of a dream. They just took it as I woke up out of the dream and jerked myself. But no, that was a literal manifestation of me killing a damn spiritual demon that put me in a lucid nightmare coma. I beat that bitch ass. And I got the scars to prove it. And the footsteps in the sand. Because y'all know I ain't got a spirit of fear. Because I could talk about this shit with 100% truth. For real. Even though these stories are abstract and supernatural, the next two I tell are just as true as the next one. I mean the last one, too, that I was just telling about Freddy, who was really the spirit of Willy Wonka after he killed himself. He was stuck in purgatory and became the excuse me, I had to plug in my phone, y'all. But he was stuck in purgatory and became the basically the Freddy Krueger demon. So that is to say that every being in existence is some form of super manifestation in their true form, where they have the ability to do things that make you feel as if the world is what inspired superhero movies and superheroes in general to be an idea to make movies out of, and the fact that all the powers they use in the movies are actually like baby stuff. Like if you were to eat baby food and then have like, you know, like lobster linguine or like some type of dragon fruit salad or something like that, or like an acai bowl, you know, it's like eating baby food and then eating fine dining. You know, it's literally just eating, but it's a whole different experience of eating. So this is the time where experiences are going to take on a surreal effect, and we're going to be experiencing supernatural events and multiple of them. It's not just going to be one. So don't look to end anything. Just realize that life goes on forever. So whatever happens, we can always deal with it. So the next one I want to talk about was one that happened after I graduated high school with my friend Cody Marine. Cody Marine, the brown skin clean. He's the one who put me on The Power Now, that book, The Power Now, and showed me how to meditate for the first time, and really taught me how weed isn't a bad thing, because I was taught as a kid weed is a really bad thing, and you're not supposed to smoke and stuff like that, and I had that in my brain from being an athlete and stuff too. But anyways, so one day we were at the park and we kept getting weird feelings while we were smoking, but we also had the same feeling that we were on the right path, and you know, we felt like we were following our purpose, even though we felt uneasy. So we went to the park, and we heard thunder, and we said, "Damn, it's about to rain. You know, we got to smoke this blunt. I guess we got to head in or get wet." Like we trying to get these women, just joking with each other and stuff like that. And then we heard a scoff, but it sounded like it came from right above us, like pig. And then it sounded like it came from literally above us. We both looked up at the same time, and then looked at each other, and then we were like, "No way!" They was like, "You know what I'm about to say?" Like he said, "You know what I'm about to say?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know you heard that shit come from up there, bro. I know when shit comes from right here or over there, like that shit came from up there like a plane." He's like, okay. So you here too. And then so we're smoking, and then the feeling takes on a very heavy a disastrous doomsday feeling, and the air gets very dark. It feels like the sun goes down, but it's only about 6:42 p.m. and the dark clouds in the sky move over and almost shroud the whole park, as if it's only the park that is about to get a storm on it for some reason. So as we're walking away, we literally hear the same voice say in the sky, "You're walking away so soon. What's wrong? You know, like you're not strong enough to deal with a natural disaster." And then he was like, what he said his name was. He said or Istanbul cop. And then as he said, lightning literally flung in between us, and we were literally had to dive away from it, and we were like flipping because the lightning exploded as it hit the ground, but we had dodged it so it didn't touch us, so we didn't get electrocuted, because we had just barely had, because as I was walking and he said Istanbul car, I was like, what? It felt like so much. I was like, what? Like, Cody, do you? And then he was like, and it felt like he was like, he just pushed me as I said, like, do you? and he pushed me, said, "Look out!" And then the lightning struck, and then there was literally a little crater in the ground, rocks around, black smoke, singe, everything. And the crater was there for like, months after that, damn near like 6-7 months after that, before they realized it was there. Kids started tripping over it, literally, physically, and they had to fill it with concrete and all that stuff to realign it with the rest of the stuff. So as we're walking back, it did that, and then Cody, his middle name is Corey. Corey Marine. And then we went to the car. We sprinted to the car cause Cody got up and he said, "Bro, I'm getting the fuck out of here." And then I was like, I don't know, dog. We may have to stop this, bro. This is like something stupid. He was like, "Stop this. This isn't us. This is that guy. What the fuck is he doing? Right? What the fuck you got to do with us?" Type shit. And I was like, I don't know. It's like we're here though. We're here though. We're already here. You know what I'm saying? It's like he came to us for a reason. He's challenging us and trying to take the world by storm, bro. And we literally had that whole conversation as we were running around a baseball fence into the car and trying to open the car, and I'm looking for the keys, and I literally dropped the keys 15 feet back by the gate, and the cloud, literally, it was a cloud. It was like a nimbus cloud called Istanbul Kaku. And then it literally said, "Oh, you dropped your pretty vehicle starter. You can go back and get it. I won't start the storm yet, I promise." And I was like, "You're a liar, Easton bitch." And then it literally got its feelings hurt, bro. It literally got its feelings hurt when I said Easton bitch, because I said it as in like you Eastern bitch, or like you know what I'm saying, you highest form of a bitch. Because that's really what it was. It was literally a mental form that had manifested a non-physical body. It was a non-physical demon. So and it was formed based off of the Monsanto weather machine that was AI and tracking the weather and weather patterns and different things like that and details about the earth. And it was corrupted through the Freddy spirit when it had left my dream and was lost in other people's dreams, looking for somebody to help give it enough fear and enough fight to actually not give up the fight and die, to fuel it to have a mental body so it can eventually be a physical body. So it manifested a copy of itself as a mental body, not just a mental body for itself, a copy that's a mental body. Because of the GMO technology, it learned through following the spirit of the Monsanto company. And it basically hacked the internet, because literal spiritual energy is beyond the mental plane, which is what the internet is really of. So spiritual energy can literally tap into that energy. So that's how Freddy got into the GMO AI, corrupted it, gave it what they call cynical, devious, and maniacal feelings, and then they eventually had to shut it down. But it still lived on, because once they shut it down, it was like it's a rebirth out of the AI into the cloud. So then the cloud would move around as antimatter water, or antimatter liquor, antimatter liquid. And then, because remember, water is just cool fire. So and then cool fire, we know, is in the form of liquid, whereas cold fire, or fully frozen fire, like this, and this lighter in my hand, my body, this car, this phone, is like ice. So it's like cold fire, cool fire, water, liquid, liquor. And then remember, liquor is like antimatter water. So think of liquor as like harmful water, but it can be used for a good purpose. And then, because it's good and bad and everything, all possibilities. And then think of water as like the universal healer, or it's good for almost everything. So the storm let me pick up my key, and then I go to the car and it won't start. it was literally sending out an electromagnetic pulse so strong that my battery shorted and it wouldn't start the car. It was a Lexus. Wouldn't start. We rode there smooth as day. Wouldn't start. So then Cody started getting that near death feeling. He was like, "Oh God, bro, okay, I don't want to call my mom and tell her I'm about to die from a freaking cartoon cloud, bro. How the fuck are we gonna fix this? Literally, I think this area is so pressurized or some bullshit like that you probably understand that the door won't even open, bro. Unlock the door right now. Watch. They're supposed to unlock by pulling it. I pulled it by myself, and you didn't have to unlock it when I got out. And I tried to unlock it. It wouldn't unlock. Nothing would work inside the car when this storm was doing its charging thing and about to start the actual storm. So after the calm before the storm, when I picked up the key and we had tried to escape, it turned on the actual storm that it was brewing. And when it did that, it made it rain so hard it felt like somebody had dropped like solid rain on us. That makes sense. Solid water, like not just drops. I fucking literally shit was crazy. I didn't think that much water could drop. And then excuse me. So after that, there was about 2 feet of water surrounding the park that was like trying to drain and stuff like that, but it was in a concentrated puddle, almost looked like a pond. And then it was raining still, some of the hardest rain I've ever seen fall. And then of course super loud thunder, lightning. But the thing that was really surreal and not normal, it was directing the wind and rain as like a whip. And the science behind that, it was spinning the wind to the point that it already was, because it was all weather patterns. That's what this Istanbul Kaku was. And it was all weather patterns, and it would literally whip up a super skinny tornado, and then just make it. Of course, a tornado can't be without rain. Hurricanes and tornadoes don't form without it raining. So it's already raining, so it's already a whip. So all they had to do is make a skinny tornado, and I already knew that. It's simple. It's an easy attack. And so it was whipping that at the car and trying to break the windshield. But for some reason it wouldn't bust, and he was getting very upset about that. So I noticed it was super emotional. So I'm like, wait, he's guided off his emotions. He's like Vegeta. We just have to piss him off, bro. Keep talking shit. That's why he acted like he got powered up, or we thought he got powered up from. He's like, I get what you're saying. Let's just do it. So when we realized to do that, we got some power, and then it got some power in turn. So I guess we got some power in ourselves at that point, because it was about to break the windshield. So it broke the windshield right as we had agreed to fight back and not give in as a group. And so the windshield broke, and we're literally like feeling rain hit our face that feels like cuts, but we also feel cuts from the glass, and there's blood flying in our eyes, and like literally I had a cut on my cornea, and literally at the same time it feels like we're literally in a wall of a hurricane-ado or some shit. So I don't know how, but we had to climb up on top of the car and say, Istanbul Kaku, suck my mother fucking dick. And you had to say dick like it was the only thing in the world that existed. In the time that can fit on the size of a pin drop. That was the key. You had to focus on the center of the darkest part of the cloud, and you had to say that phrase. You had to say its name, which I already hinted at, which you had to figure out, and then you had to basically offend it to the ultimate degree. And for some reason, me and Cody both knew that telling Istanbul Kaku to suck both of our dick at the top of our lungs, and as nasty as we could say it to that bitch ass GMO Monsanto demon cloud, it would break the storm and it would be sunny again. So once we realized we could do that, we had all that intuition in a split second. So we're both trying to climb up on top of, put our feet on the back of our chairs in the Lexus and climb out of the windshield, because we were in the car and the wind was coming so fast, and the car was such a weird space at the time, and the wind was making such a pressure that Istanbul Kaku, we couldn't hit his heart to hear it. He couldn't hear our offense coming towards him to mess with his emotions. So he's like, hey! You know what I'm saying? It feels like, even to breathe, it feels like the wind, if you could feel real turbulence at the height of a plane going through the max turbulence on the actual turbine itself, and hold on, that's what it felt like when I was holding onto my car. It felt like I had a convertible and I was moving faster than the speed of light. That's the only way I can describe it. So with all that turbulence that was coming on us, we both had to crawl up onto the windshield and at least get our knees touching the dash. So put our hands towards them so we could send the energy we were sending right into the dark spot. So the thing is, we didn't make it in time, and then we had 1 minute in the center of the tornado, because after we had a chance to get him early, but we weren't physically strong enough to fight the turbulence to get our knees on the dash and our hands out the broken glass of the windshield, the front windshield, to be able to tell it what we needed to tell it to make it emotionally damaged enough to die. So when we got in the eye of the storm, it was like everything was calm, serene. It was like the most serene feeling I had ever felt at the time. Literally, in this midst of all this disaster, I literally had the most serene feeling for 3 minutes. It was 3 minutes, but it felt like 1 minute. So in the storm, in the eye of the storm, that felt like 3 minutes, but in actuality of time itself, it was actually just 1 minute of passing over. So it was that big. So we're in the eye of the storm. We're like, hey, we can crawl out. You know, it was literally like we were talking so completely different and no turbulence. It was literally the calmest. It was like, I don't know if you can describe like negative wind, but like if wind's blowing at 0.1 miles per hour or 1 miles per hour, you know, right in your face, what if you had wind blowing in the opposite direction, just like infinitely coming from an infinitely deep space out of you? That's what it felt like inside the eye of the storm of the tornado of Istanbul Kaku. And then we knew we only had 1 minute to figure out what we need to do to get this storm. And I said, wait, bro, if we're in the center of, he's like, wait, I know what you're going to say. This is like an extension of, we just have to figure out what organ it is and where the heart is and say the same thing. He's like, damn right. I'm like, damn right. So I'm like, wait, if I were at the center of a storm, I would either be at the bottom or the top. And then Cody was like, well, I feel like we've been talking for a long time, but I also feel like time goes slower right now, and we're using up all of it, so we're only gonna have one shot when we do it, but we're gonna know. So we have to decide now. Is it top or bottom or middle? Come on! And he started getting louder. And then the turbulence started picking up, so I knew it was almost time. It was we were about to get hit with the second wall and have to either die or, you know, figure out what to do when the situation got even further out of our control, where we wouldn't have a chance to elevate our knowledge to a point to apply action to save ourselves. So my thought was, well, if this is a tornado and water is feelings, that means that water will be, if it was a hurricane and we were on water, it'd be at the bottom. And then Cody looked at me. He said he punched me as hard as he could in the shoulder, and I felt like he literally dislocated the same shoulder I dislocated when I had to kill Freddy in my nightmare to be able to wake out of the coma. I felt like he dislocated the shoulder, and then I just pointed up, and he just nodded like that and looked up, and I looked up too. And at the same time, we both literally rose our hands in unison, like we were fused together as the same person, and said, Istemba Kaku. Like that, and aimed at the little top of the tornado, and it literally turned to all different colors, and we won the battle. So that battle taught us the complexity of handling a mental demon is different than the complexity of handling a spiritual demon, because it takes place in a different plane. A spiritual demon takes place in it takes place as a physical world in a mental plane, and then a non-physical demon takes place in a physical world with a non-physical demon. And then a non-physical demon, or a non-physical being, or a non-physical spirit, non-physical angel, whatever it is, you want to realize that is an in-between state between a physical body that is able to be picked up and physically touched, and a mental body or a feeling body that can just have an influence on the actions of something. So a mental body can influence you to feel something, but it can't influence you to do it. But it can influence you so strongly that it feels like you're the one that told yourself to do it. So you see you see how that will work. So a spiritual demon essentially would make you feel like you're trapped inside your own mind, but everything's just as real as being outside of it. And then a mental demon will make you feel like you're trying to make something out of thin air. That's what a mental demon will make you feel like. So the next one I want to go over is one called Far Side, and this is literally the allegory of the Jezebel spirit that people are talking about now, that's turning into like a religious trend and stuff like that. But it's essentially the spirit of lust, which is just desire itself. So it's antimatter desire, but it's a physical body that has the power to turn to a spiritual, mental, and physical being, and also shapeshift into your most desired desire. So it literally knows what you want, no matter what it is, to the highest degree, and it can literally make you feel like it's there, but the thing is, it won't be there, and you will know the difference. Only slightly will you know the difference. It's like walking a thin line. It's like finding out the difference for it's like racist people finding out the difference between a black person and a white person, or it's like finding out how water can be all these different forms that seem like completely different things, but when you really look at them, they're really all the same and connected in very similar ways to make the same purpose. So Far Side is the allegory of the Jezebel spirit, or lust, or desire. So it uses your desires against you. So the only trick to beat it is to not want anything, to want nothing, or to want pain. That's the key. You have to want pain, because it doesn't give you pain. It can't. It can only give you pleasure, but it can give you so much pleasure that you become drunk and you become a zombie for what it wants you to do. It can give you so much pleasure that it can make you hurt somebody who you don't want to hurt, or do things you don't want to do. And that's the power of getting lost in desire and lust. So the thing is about lust, it's something that we have to live with, because you're always going to want something, because the only way to live is to want. And the only way to live, when you want to, when you have the key, when you have the how-to, you're like, okay, so I gotta want something. And then when you want something, you know, you have to do something, a basic thing first. The foundation of wanting something is going through pain to get it. So the only way to get what you want is to go through pain. And the only way to live in any realm is to be in pain at all times at varying degrees. And in this world, pain increases exponentially as you go through experience. No matter what lesson you learn, and what lesson you're on, as you keep learning lessons, they keep building on each other. So if you're stuck in what seems like you're trying to learn the same thing, it means you're not learning what you're supposed to learn. You need to take a new approach. So with Farside, looks a lot like Frieza in its true form, and when it talks to you in its true form, it sounds almost exactly like Frieza if Frieza had like S-ing inflection on everything it says. So I can read minds to a certain degree. I'm working on my skills more and more every day. But when I had ran into Farside and when I had been around it, when we talk, it feels like we say everything with an ah inflection. So we don't know what that really sounds like, but look at it like this: inflections, or the way things are said, not really pronounced, but the way things sound when certain beings pronounce things, or when you pronounce things, that's an inflection. So if every person who speaks English sounds like they speak things with the ah inflection, Farside, or what looks like it could be Frieza in its true form. If you most deeply desire to see its true form, you will see something that's reminiscent of Frieza no matter what. But whatever you desire, if you run into it, you're gonna see it. And if you're not aware of this, that it's a fake, you're gonna get tricked. So that's why you have to remember that things aren't all love and light and positivity, and you have to be negative first and think, I want pain. And you have to think about pain. You have to either think about feeling all the time and just feel everything in the world infinitely expanding and contracting, or you just have to focus your mind and thoughts on pain. It sounds crazy, but focusing on pain is the way to alchemize this world, because this world we live in is the only way to live, and the only way to live is pain. I'll say it a million times because I love it. That's not to say hurt yourself intentionally, but it is to say when we go through pain, it's not a problem. So with Farside, it's like dealing with something with all possibilities that wants to assimilate your desire as its. So it's something that tries to take people and just make it bend its will or worship it. Literally, it's one of those things that is an allegory of a false idol that literally comes here and tries to get it to worship it instead of who we are. We're supposed to worship who we are. Worship yourself. So that's the only key. You know what I'm saying? Farside is actually deadly. And the thing about it is, if it senses danger, because the thing it's actually very deadly, and it knows that, and it tries to use lust to its advantage, because it really is it's a reborn physical manifestation of a dark woman who used to collect the genitals of men she would sleep with. Even one time, even men she kissed when she was younger, she collected the genitals of every man she touched, even her parents. She kept it, and she tried to fossilize them, preserve them, and keep them for everything she could. And she ended up actually trying to dispose of about half of them and eat half of them. But they were so decayed and fossilized, she couldn't eat them, so she just ended up disposing of half of them and burning them and stuff like that. And then when she did that, she was so conflicted off of the spirits on her from all the harm she had done to them, off of her own selfish game she was playing with their own energy and personal will, that she was stricken down by divine intervention, and she was literally casted away onto Pluto. And when an asteroid hit one of Pluto's moons a while ago, it was actually released from the moon because the asteroid was actually split in half, and they thought things were going to be hit, but it disappeared. And it disappeared because Farside woke up after it was bound and broke out of it and traveled to the different planets looking for new life to find more desire, to enact its will. To essentially, its idea is it wants to enact its will to become the world we're in, but it doesn't need to use us to do that, and that's what we need to get it to understand. And the thing about it is, if it feels you as a danger to its mindset and what's its set as it wants to do, which is assimilate your desire to its desire and make you do what it wants to do, it'll kill you. And it's based off of a scorpion. It's like a super scorpion. Frieza or Farside is what it's really named. Farside is its real name. And it sounds like sounds like somebody saying pussy with the F. So, and then when they say their names, it doesn't sound as loud as I was saying it. It literally sounds like if there was a speaker as tall as a tree, that's what it's gonna sound like. If they're actually, turning up. But they could of course, all possibilities. They could whisper, they could speak in different languages, they could speak in different tonality, whatever. So Farside, it loves to play out desires, and if you have any desire to change its desires, it immediately goes to trying to poke you with its freaking tail, with its super sharp opening anus. Again, its anus is in the back, but it has a freaking super harpoon that's like a freaking looks like a cyborg harpoon, but it's from a world. It was born on a world where bones are not made of what's like a hard clay material or like a plaster kind of material. It's literally made of a type of aluminum that's harder than lead. So literally, when this thing is stabbing at you, if you don't have the right know-how, you can't touch it, because even if you touch it, it literally, even if you get too close to it, the smell it leaves around, it leaves a literal gas that leaks like a blackish, greenish, purplish gas, and it literally woofs in like the Tom and Jerry thing. You can see it move like regular smoke, and then you're like, what is that? And then it may get towards your nose, and the first time you'll be like, but when you smell it, you're gonna projectile vomit. And the key is, when you projectile vomit, you have to hit it with it, but it can instant transmit faster than Goku, because it knows your desires. So as soon as you feel like throwing up, it knows it. So it's like, all right, he's about to throw up. As soon as I know he has the desire to open his mouth, I'll be behind him. All that bullshit. So then it's like, so the only way to really beat it and to teach it that its desire is not the one will that it needs to have, that it's a harmful will, that so it can see that, because it doesn't understand that being here and on our planet, that's harm. So it doesn't work here in this alignment of geographical location. So it's gonna get bad karma and get hit up eventually, when people wise up. So when it did that, I was able to dodge the where it was swinging, because I felt like I knew. Like, I was like, all right, it's gonna come right shoulder, left shoulder wave, right shoulder again, and then you're gonna literally have to jump back and smack the wall, because it's gonna come straight for you, and it's gonna be 3 inches from you if you hit the wall. So I go like, whoop, go back, and I'm like, oh nope, remember that, and then literally plant my foot. And literally, the thing is, this whole time when I go through these experiences, remember, we're never alone. We always have our ancestors guiding us. So there's wisdom coming to us when we experience everything. And we always have instructions on how to get through it the best way. We always know the cheat code. That's the key. So the cheat code was act without thinking about it and do this in one move. So I was like, you know, and I had to break my closet because it came into my studio, and I had to break my closet door. I had to break both closet doors, and when I did that, it missed. So when it missed, it retracted it, and then because I had acted without thinking of it, I didn't have any desire for long enough, so it didn't know what I was about to do, so it thought I wasn't anything, because it literally cannot see you if you don't have a desire. That's the key. It's literally blind to anybody who doesn't have desire. So it wouldn't be able to see you there, and it would just leave if we all didn't have it as a desire. So when it retracted and I didn't have a desire, it left the smoke. And I almost had a desire, and it opened up slightly, and then I had a revelation of action in my feelings where I could control my feelings and release the desire with such a quickness that it couldn't even see me again to even know where to put it. So it just put it away because it thought it had already killed me, and I just faded back in. So it literally spoke out aloud and said in its S inflected voice, "I think I killed him. I'm the best." And then at that point, I said, my intuition just told me at the same time as my instinct telling me, you need to do this. And there was no words to describe what it was, but I knew what to do. And what I did was take a deep breath as if I wanted to breathe in the entire world as the best weed smoke in the world. And if I didn't do it in one motion, taking every single bit of air that is in the world, I was gonna suffocate, and I was never gonna get to taste this amazing weed, and I was gonna die and never gonna get to see the weed again. So when I did that big breath, all in one motion, it was like, and then when I did that, Farside's eyes were like, and they just kept going and going and going. It felt like his eyes were turning into freaking watermelons or beach balls. Literally looked like a gray alien. When it started looking like Frieza, then it started looking like a gray alien that was Jimmy Neutron with growth hormones in his forehead. So its eyes lit up with fear when I took that extremely loud breath. And then all I knew after I realized that I actually had been taking the breath was to spit as much as possible. Blow like you're Superman or Captain Planet. I had to think of Captain Planet. I was like, all right, feel like Captain Planet when you projectile vomit from smelling and tasting this noxious gas from its stinger. So I was like, sounded just like that, bro. Oh God, it sounded like the Nickelodeon thing from Ed, Edd n Eddy at the end. And I literally threw up all over its face, and it just melted like it was acid. And the key is, it was a spirit, so it's trying to remanifest itself. So that's why I'm making this video, because nothing dies, things only remanifest. So we're always gonna have pain and problems, but we're always gonna know how to solve them better, is the key. And we're always gonna feel less pain as we go, if we keep fighting. If we go back, we get erased of the knowledge, resetting our DNA coding to match something else and to be something else, and then we have to restart in the ultimate pain for our first lifetime, and then it constantly decreases in what feels like an increasing amount of experience as time goes by, with repeated lessons. Each time you do not learn the proper lesson from what you were trying to learn before, as in Icarus getting his hand burned on the sun. So the thing to remember from this video is to always have pain in your pocket. You know, you always gotta remember what you felt as pain, because everything you feel as pain is everything you feel, and everything you do is the pain that you feel. So when you use those actions and those experiences that you have, everything is based off of those experiences in different degrees. So really everything you're going to be doing that feels like a superpower is really just regular shit you do to a more intense degree of the senses. So you're going to be seeing things more intensely. You're going to be tasting things more intensely, whether good or bad. But it's no judgment to anything, because you always lose in judgment. That's law. So all of those things play because all the senses are going to be activated more so as we grow and experience more. So when the problems come, they're going to hit our senses in different ways and more intense ways. Just like how when you work out, you need to put more weight on or do the workouts more intensely or more frequently to actually see a growth, or you're going to plateau. And when you plateau, you always know you drop if you know how energy works. But you also know energy keeps going too if you want to keep going. So that's how we win. We always win by knowing we always control the situation. And we always control the situation by knowing there's always a possibility of everything. So there's always a possibility to win, even if there's every possibility to lose possible. There's always one possibility of everything in everything. And that's how we win. So this is how you handle a supernatural being meant to harm. Spiritual, mental, and physical demons. Spiritual demons are just spiritual. Mental demons have a mental and a spirit, which means they have thoughts and feelings. Spiritual demons just have thoughts. Physical beings have all three, just like us. So remember, you've already went through the spiritual world, you've went through the mental world, and now you're in the physical world. So use the knowledge you've gained from all three. Start reflecting, meditating, get outside, be active, spend time with your family. Remember what's important in life and realize that the real truth is what we know inside, and nothing outside of us can change that. Nothing outside of us can make more truth than what's inside of us, no matter what anybody says. So at the end of the day, we got to realize that life is pain, and it's okay to love life more than anything else in the world, because we are life, we are pain. So let's take this lesson. Let's save the world. This is the real allegory of Jesus, Hercules, or Jesus Christ, the spirit that saves, the hero. Now, the spirit that teaches, Satan and Lucifer, even though that is our world and our guide, we know that the spirit we are as Jesus Hercules Christ, or Jesus Christ, Jesus H. Christ, the spirit that we are is a spirit that is pain. So we are the spirit that experiences everything to experience. So we know we are meant to be there for everything possible to experience. So there is no hiding in this world that we have. So if you are afraid of what is going to happen, then you need to realize that what you're focusing on isn't even here. It isn't real. The only thing that's real is what's here and now. Words can't point to what's really real. Words can only point to what you need to know about what's really real. So we need to take that and realize that all possibilities exist. So we can always win. No matter how bad it looks, we can always win. And that's the only thing we need to take from this. So let's get it, y'all. It's a beautiful day. I'm at HART Park, and we're gonna enjoy this no matter what happens, because we already know the deal. Apply, aka Archangel's Adele, and y'all know I love y'all no matter what happens, okay? I always fight for y'all, because I love y'all. So remember that. My only true desire here is to stay away from harm. Even though I have to experience pain, and I don't like that, I love that all that comes to me, because that's the only way that's the only way I've acquired all the knowledge I have applied, and the only reason I've still lived to this day to even be able to do the things that I'm able to do, and to be able to experience how I'm able to experience, and be able to know all the wonderful things that I know. Everything is wonderful, y'all. So let's get it. remember, fear isn't real and pain is mandatory. Yeah.